And in this type, we will, inshallah, discuss when you give the money in advance so that you buy something that is not found yet, and it will be found in the future. So who will read hadith number 271? Yes, brother, there at the end.
Ibn Abbas, Allah be pleased with him, reported that when Allah's Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Medina, they were paying 1, 2, and 3 years in advance for fruits. So he said, those who pay in advance for anything must be so for a specific measure of a specific weight and for a definite time.
Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ, when he came to Medina, he found them having this transaction. Now, Islam, when it comes, it does not mean that it cancels everything that was there. Everything that goes in accordance with the Quran and the Sunnah, it is approved. And this transaction was approved by the Prophet ﷺ. However, the Prophet put conditions, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And let us look at what is Bay' as-Salam. Bay' as-Salam, or the transaction of Salam, is actually beneficial for the buyer and the seller. So the seller actually has a farm, and he's cultivating the crops, he's cultivating the trees, he's doing his best to have these fruit and crops and selling it. Now it will be due in 6 months' time, and he needs money. So he goes to a person, a rich person, he says, give me money for a loan. I said, no, I don't have any money to lend. It's my right. So he tells me, what about if I sell you my crops for a minimal charge? As a businessman, I would think, $2 today, after 6 months, I can sell it for $5. That's a good deal for me. I'm a businessman. So I say this is okay. Now, I give him the money in advance. The farmer is happy because he can use the money to feed his family, to cultivate his land, to buy seeds or whatever. The trader or the buyer is happy because he's buying something. It's a good investment. It will double, triple, quadruple after a few months' time. So this is good for both. Now, what are the conditions? The Prophet ﷺ, that whoever does so, that is the transaction of salam, it has to be in a specific measures, whether by size or by weight or by specifying the time of collecting it. Meaning, if I tell you, look at my farm, whatever is on it that will be produced, you take it for 100,000. You say, I accept. Is this halal? No. Why? This is not specific. You cannot measure it. And anything that cannot be measured cannot be sold as salam, because this would be ambiguous. So how do we measure it? By saying, I will give you 500 kilograms for this price of money on the specific week, the first week of Muharram, or after 3 months exactly, or after 2 years. I will give you 500 kgs from this specific fruit, whether it is dates, whether it is corn, whether it something that can be measurable. So if it is specifically measured and weighed accurately, then this transaction is permissible. So it has to be either known by size, in sa' or in weight, whether pounds or kilograms, and also the time limit is a must. You cannot make it indefinite, meaning when the crops come, I will sell it to you. Or give me 100,000, and when the crops come, you take it. This is not specific. You have to give a deadline. Also, the price of buying has to be immediate. So if the merchant says, okay, I'll take 500 kgs, I'll give you the price later on. Or I say after a month or so. No, the price has to be immediately given so that the farmer or the one who's selling can utilize this. Can this only be in farming? in crops, or it can be in anything. Scholars say it can be in anything. For example, a manufacturer who has a plant producing coffee cups. So I tell him I need 2,000 mugs, and this is the description. This is how high, this is the material it's made of, this is how heavy, and it looks like this, and this is the color. And I give him a sample. Is this permissible? The answer is yes, because this is exactly measured. It is exactly specific. If he makes anything that is not similar, then I have the right to reject it. So he goes and he says, okay, I will manufacture it exactly in 5 months' time, you will have the product. Okay, here is the money. This is completely permissible and accurate. Now, people ask, what is the difference between selling something you do not own, you do not possess, and this? I said, Hadith Hakeem ibn Hizam, when the Prophet said, do not sell what you do not have, this was pointing out at something that is found and is there, available, but it is not mine. Someone comes and says, look at my friend's car, it's very beautiful. I wish I can buy it, but I don't have money. I said, I'll buy it for you, installments. This is something I do not have. It's a specific car, a specific merchandise. Now, Bay'u Salam, it's a contract to sell something in as a debt, not something that is present. Something described which is not there. It's described so that it's specifically known, but it is not there, it's not available. It's yet to be invented, or yet to be planted, or yet to be produced. While in the Hakim ibn Hizam's hadith, the thing we want is there, but it is not mine. So I will go and buy it, and there is ambiguity in it, whether I can do it or not. And this is, to make it in a nutshell, you have to, as stated, cash the money, grab the money in your hand, and you have to set a time limit so that he would be able to deliver. And finally, that this product, who he has given the promise to deliver, has to be quantified, has to be specifically measured, so that there would not be any kind of disagreement in the future. Moving on to another chapter, which is the conditions in transactions. We know that we can make conditions, but all kinds of conditions, or there are different kinds that are permissible and kinds are not. So we move on to hadith number 272.
Narrated Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, Barira came to Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha and said, I have made a contract of buying my freedom with my masters for 9 uqiyas to be paid in yearly installments. Therefore, I seek your help. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said, if your masters agree, I will pay them the sum at once and free you on condition that your wala will be for me. Barira went to her masters, but they refused that offer. She came back and said, I presented to them the offer, but they refused, unless the wala was for them. I told the Prophet ﷺ about it. On that he said, take her and stipulate that the wala is for them, because wala is for the liberator. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha added, Allah's Prophet ﷺ then got up amongst the people, glorified and praised Allah, and said, then after, why do some men impose conditions which are not present in Allah's book? Any condition which is not present is invalid, even if there were 100 conditions. Allah's decree is more worthy, and Allah's condition is stronger and more solid. The wala is for the liberator.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. This long hadith is summarized as follows. A slave, when he is freed, the pledge of allegiance and his wala goes to his liberator, the one who freed him. Meaning, usually slaves don't have relatives because they're captured, so they're cut from their relatives. So if he dies, his liberator becomes his next of kin. He inherits him. So always those who liberate slaves would benefit and would want to keep this in the future as an investment if he dies. Now Barira, may Allah be pleased with her, was a slave woman. She went to her masters and told them, free me. And they said, okay, work and give us this much of ounces of gold, whether it's 9, I think in the hadith mentioned, and we will set you free. Now, Barira did not have any kind of education or craft that would enable her to get this money. What did she do? This is what we'll find, inshallah, after the break, so stay tuned.
Distinguished world-famous orators who dedicated their lives to convey the message of peace came together at one platform, the International Islamic Conference, with one vision, with one mission, Peace Mission.
I welcome all of you with Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Peace Mission, every Monday to Saturday at 7 p.m. and repeat telecast at 10 a.m. India on Peace TV. Dialogue. Discussion. Debate. Rebuttal. Conclusion.
Eliminate misconceptions about religion. Get enlightened.
Witness Dr. Zakir Naik in a battle of words in Crossfire tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 10 a.m. India on Peace TV.
اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق.
The Book of Allah is the foundation of Islamic civilization and the way out of every trial. Every generation of Muslims needs to develop a relationship with the Quran. So join me, Riyaz Ansari, for reflections on the Quran.
Explore how the Quran has a wondrous impact on those who receive it as a book of guidance in Reflections on the Quran with Riyaz Ansari, next on Peace TV.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Barira, may Allah be pleased with her, went to Aisha. And we learn from this that it is permissible for a slave to buy himself out. Is it mandatory upon his masters? No, it is recommended, as mentioned in the Quran, but it is not mandatory. If they want to sell, yes. If they don't want to free, they may keep him. And she went to Aisha because she needed her to help her in paying off her installments. Aisha told her, I have a better idea. Why not I buy you and I free you? So that was a good idea for Barira, because both ways she will cut a long period short. She went to her masters, who refused and said that no, unless the wala is to us, then we're not willing to accept. When the Prophet heard about this, alayhi salatu wasalam, he was angered, because he had previously stated to the Muslims that whoever frees a slave, then the wala, the allegiance, is to the liberator. How dare they ask for that? How dare they make a condition that no, we will not accept until you do this and that? Let them make this condition and buy her off, because the allegiance at the end of the day would be yours. Everyone knew this rule. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ told them, it doesn't matter whether they make this condition or not, the condition is invalid. Then why did they make such a condition? And why did Aisha herself stipulate it and said that, listen, I'll buy her off on the account that I have the wala? Didn't she know the ruling? Scholars said both of them knew the ruling, but they had the confusion. And the confusion resulted in that Barira had already started paying her installments. So she was part free, part slave. So that made the confusion that, oh, okay, in this case, when we liberate her or when we accept the remaining, we would be liberating her. While Aisha said, while I'm giving them the money, I'm actually buying it. I'm not helping her liberate herself. So this was the confusion between the two. And that is why they made the condition, and Aisha was confused as well. May Allah be pleased with her. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ intervened and told her, let them make the condition and you agree upon it. After the transaction was made, what was the end conclusion? It was Aisha who bought Barira. And then after buying her, she's still a slave. She freed her. Then this means that the condition that her previous owners had made is invalid because they sold her. They did not free Barira. And also we learn from this hadith that, subhanAllah, the Prophet ﷺ gave a speech. He gave a speech, but he did not name the people. He praised Allah Azza wa Jalla. He said, why do people make conditions? He did not say, why did Abdullah, why did Muhammad, why did Ahmad? Naming names. I'm not saying that if one says something bad or wrong, you do not explain. No, explain, akhi, without slandering people, without criticizing them and ridiculing them and say that they're nothing, they're just like ants. And this is not the way of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet came, why do so-and-so make conditions that are not found in the law of Allah, in the Quran, nor in the Sunnah? Anything that goes against the law of Allah and the Sunnah, even if it's 100 condition, it is invalid, it's void. So the Prophet ﷺ is showing us how to deal with those who make mistakes. Not only that, we know that there are conditions that are permissible and there are conditions that are not permissible. Among the examples of conditions that are permissible, if someone wants a loan from me, Sheikh, I need 100,000. It is permissible for me to make a condition saying, here is 100,000, providing that you give me the keys and the right to sell your house if you do not pay on time. This is known as rahan or mortgage. So is this permissible? Yes, this is a logical condition to safeguard my money. Likewise, if someone, for example, buys something from me, he buys my car. I say, okay, I accept on a condition. What? That I give you my car in 3 days' time. I don't have a car, I have to buy another car. So in these 3 days, I can manage to buy a car. He agrees. Is this condition correct? This is condition halal. There is nothing haram in it. Among the bad and invalid conditions is that when I sell you my car, I tell you, I sell you my car on the condition that you do not sell it and you do not give it to anyone as a gift. This is not your right. I say, okay, I take the car and I sell it the following day. This condition is invalid. I want to marry a woman. She says, I accept on the condition that you divorce your wife. This is haram condition because it harms someone else, and there is a hadith that forbids this. However, if I want to marry a woman and she says, yes, but I make a condition that you do not get me out of my village or town. You do not marry me and then after 1 year you say we have to move to some other country. And you accept, this is valid. She says, I accept marrying you, but you do not take another wife while I'm with you. This is not acceptable. No, it is acceptable. Why? Because this is not mandatory. She is telling you that this is a condition for her to accept. Either you say, well, I don't accept because I'm thinking of getting married to a second wife after 75 years. Or you say, I accept. I can barely manage one wife. But if you agree to it, then you have to stick with it. And if so happens after 6 years or 7 years, you feel young again, you said, okay, I'm going to take another wife, and you get married to a second wife, she has the right for separation. Whether you like it or not, she goes to the judge, this is the condition, and he did not fulfill it, I am out. So you have to understand what conditions are acceptable and what conditions are not. We open the floor for questions, if you have any. Yes, Akhi.
Sheikh, in the books of Asma or Rijal, they are given the names of specific persons. Like this person, so-and-so person is having not a good memory, and he is among the people of innovators. I mean, they are mentioning the names. So based on that, it is a science of hadith, wherein the scholars of hadith have mentioned the names of the people, that this one is deviant and that one is memory.
Okay, this is different, Akhi, because backbiting or al-ghiba is prohibited. Scholars say that there are 6 reasons for backbiting to be acceptable, mentioned by Imam Nawawi, may Allah have mercy on his soul, in Riyadh al-Salihin, and other scholars. Among them is to warn people from people of innovation. Now, warning people from those who are innovators to those who do not know them, yes, this is valid. However, with da'is, with scholars of Islam, there has to be an etiquette. When you come and say that, for example, Sheikh bin Baz, a great scholar of Islam, did he have wrong fatwas? No one dares to say, no, he's Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, he's an Imam. Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen, Sheikh al-Albani, they all had shortcomings because they are human. It is a human nature that you make mistakes. The only one who cannot make such a mistake is the Prophet ﷺ. Even the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, made mistakes. Not out of whim and desire, not because they're deviant, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh, because they're humans. They make judgment, they may fail, and they may succeed. Now, if a person comes and sits and says, Sheikh bin Baz did this wrong, and he said this wrong, and this, and makes a book out of it, and publishes it, what would people say? That he's disrespectful, that he's not polite. He says, no, I was just showing the people the things that were wrong. This is not the way of doing it. There is a difference between an advice, when I come to you and I say, Akhi, you did this and that in private, and this is wrong. And there is a difference between when I make it public. Now one says, yes, but their mistake was done in public, so I have to rectify it and clarify it in public. And this is not always the truth. First of all, go to the gentleman, go to the brother and tell him. He may rectify it himself, correct himself. Maybe it is an issue of dispute that can be applicable, can be used, not necessarily that I am right 100% of the time. Therefore, one has to balance. I'm not at all saying that if a da'i or a scholar makes a mistake, hush, hush, and not talk about it and turn your face to the other direction. What I'm saying is to be polite. What I'm saying is to know how to address people and how to talk to them, because people have respect. When you keep on knocking all the da'is and the scholars down, at the end of the day, you and I, we would think that there are no scholars, there are no da'is. Stepping on people is forbidden. Ridiculing people and not respecting them is forbidden. Yes, if someone makes a mistake, ya akhi, highlight the good part, saying that this brother has a lot of good work and he does a lot of good things for da'wah, but he made the mistake in this, and inshallah he would rectify it. The truth is so and so and so. To go and jump to the gun and say, this guy is being like the Jahmi, he's being like Mu'tazili, and he is saying that this and this, and as if you are getting him out of the loop of Islam, this is something that is not polite, it's not respectful, and it's not part of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time, fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.